Hey everybody. I feel like I've gotten no sleep whatsoever today, but I was looking over at my channel, Infinite Outlaw 2, as I've released a bunch of these random rant topics that were given to me in my Discord, and I've been thinking about the energy that those videos have in comparison to these videos here. Why is it that as soon as I start up the video, I'm screaming about a topic that I normally wouldn't have even talked about on the channel in the first place? That I'm able to get as many words out as I possibly can in as short amount of time as I possibly can. Because that's what they feel like. They feel like I'm trying to have as much brevity as possible while simultaneously, flailing my arms and speaking in extreme terms. So I wonder, you know, what is it about these videos that give them that flair, that make me want to make them that way? When I release videos like these on a regular basis and scrap even more of them, deciding that they aren't what would make the cut for this channel. And a lot of them do feel the same, like I'm recycling the same ideas that I've talked about for the last 2 years, but only doing so in a slightly different way, remixing the same content that I've made for however long. And part of me is kind of excited for the fact that those videos are being released, because if you look at what they are, you know, dense, unscripted rants where I just passionately talk about a single subject that I might not have thought about on my own. It's very consumable content, and it gives voice to things that I haven't really been able to talk about, but I've nonetheless thought a lot about. It's the kind of variety that I feel like my channel doesn't get so often, because I've taken such an insular focus on the same topics that I've always thought about, that I've always wanted to explain over the years, but I've never quite known how to. And so the videos that have been coming out here, um, feel like they're lacking something. And the reason why they feel like they're lacking something, or rather that they feel uninspired, is because I'm not consuming enough to inspire me in the first place. I can't keep using the exact same inspirations that I've always had over and over again. At some point, you have to reach out and try and find more new, interesting things. And I haven't been doing that. I've just been kind of stagnating on the exact same media that I always consume, without taking something in that's going to give me a new way of thinking, a new idea about how to process what it is that you're seeing in front of you. You know, when I watched Zombieland Saga, it wasn't a particularly influential show on my end. It was like a 7 out of 10. It didn't really do very much for me in comparison to some of the other shows on my list, but it nonetheless made me very emotional, and I had a lot of fun watching it. But after I watched that show, a few days afterwards, I kept thinking about little bitty parts of it. I kept thinking about what the small tangent of elements, that went together in a few episodes, what they had to mean for the bigger whole, of the series. And as I thought about that, as the days went on, I felt much more going on up there than I normally do, much more inspired to make things than I normally do. And the reason why was because I was entertaining an idea that I wouldn't have thought of on my own. In order to understand and seek out and talk about that idea, I had to see it represented somewhere else. I couldn't just take it off the top of my head, because that's not where my instincts lie. If you go through my channel long enough, you'll see a similarity of topics over time. You'll see me talking about nostalgia, and a lot of these same stories continue coming up. But when you see me really talking about something different, something I wouldn't normally speak about, it's almost always because I'm consuming something new that I've decided to adventure out and find out about an idea that I'm not normally accustomed to. I kind of miss that on this channel. The adventurous spirit, the inspiration that would show up seemingly out of nowhere after consuming something. That's how you make continually interesting content. You don't just say whatever it is that your gut tells you to say, because eventually after doing that for so long, you're going to run out. The only way to truly remain infinite is to consume infinitely. And so, if the ideas that I get from reflecting on my past experiences, from reflecting on the things I've consumed in my past, become no longer sufficient for sustaining this channel and for remaining interesting, then I have to begin consuming new ideas. Ideas that I didn't necessarily think about before, ways of framing ideas that I didn't necessarily think about before. Longevity is only maintained in how much you consume. You're not going to be interesting if you're not consuming enough content that is also interesting, that you can derive information from and inspiration from, and you can connect to other things in your life. You can have more stuff to say. And so I think what I ought to do is just get off my lazy ass. Stop, talking about the same things over and over again, only when I'm the most inspired. And seek out more art, more interesting things, more stimulating concepts. Because I don't want to just sit here and stagnate and not be doing as much as everyone else is around me. As I look at YouTube videos just from 2-3 years ago, and I can see all of these people vastly outclassing the work that I'm doing, making videos that are much, much more interesting. And I just want to have that spark that other people have. I want to be able to communicate those things. And I feel like I definitely have at certain times. There's certain videos that I'm really proud of, but the overall bulk of my work, I want to get to a point where I feel all of it had a coherent inspiration behind it, that all of it was trying to say something a little bit more than I normally would. That's where my head has been at. Reading this Discord has been very surreal because, I've gotten so many very kind and genuine compliments, and it's made me really happy to read all of it. But there's been this thought that's been in the back of my mind that if people are reacting so positively to the content that I'm doing now, then how would they react to me making it 10 times better, or me trying to be more interesting? How much more would I be doing for my audience if that were true? And, I don't know. Reading all of this is it's just reinforced this idea that I really do need to improve. I think the opposite would happen for a lot of people, that when complimented, they would see less of their flaws. I just see more of them. I just see more avenues to potentially make someone else enjoy my work as much as these other people do. And I can't really express with words how much it has meant to me, to see such kind sentiments. But the only thing I've been able to think about is, how can I do more? And it feels weird telling people this, because I don't think most people think about it in these terms. They hear a compliment and they think, wow, someone's complimenting me. I hear a compliment and I think, wow, what can I do more to get another compliment or potentially one that feels more impactful? It seems all kind of self-centered, doesn't it? And I swear that's not what it means to be, but I just, when I read this stuff, I'm like, there's got to be more that I can do for you. Oh, there's always got to be a higher peak that I can get to make these videos more interesting. Especially because I've been taking such a laid back approach to them. You know, if taking such a laid back approach now has been able to produce these results, what results could I potentially produce if I went even further? Um, so I've wanted to experiment more with a lot more content styles, and I've wanted to just consume as much information as I can to try and make me feel more well-rounded as a human being, someone who has more to talk about. Because I felt this stagnation with my videos of only speaking about the same things. Because throughout the day, what I would do was I would read a book, which on the one hand was very good for my, you know, very good for my stock of ideas. But eventually, as I started becoming more and more disillusioned with the medium, as I read more and more, that initial excitement from getting into a medium always dies down. Um, I became less interested in reading an entire book every day. I became less interested in reading one chapter each day. It kept going down like that. So I continued reading through Discord more and more, and then I started out my own Discord. And, you know, hearing kind of hearing the same things and me making the same types of jokes each day, me reflecting on the exact same things, not really consuming anything that's new or interesting. It's put me in this mind state where my content doesn't feel like it's becoming new or interesting. It doesn't feel like anything particularly drastic is happening. I'm just talking about the same things I've always talked about. And what I'm taking in, the information I'm taking in, what I'm consuming, I think it's reflecting on what I'm producing. And in order to produce a much more, with a much more holistic approach of understanding the whole of your work, what it's going to be in the final product, then I think you also have to take a holistic approach to your lifestyle. Not just putting all of your eggs in one basket, focusing on one region, one idea, one thought process, instead trying to be focusing on all of them. And only then are you going to achieve something truly great, consistently. And that consistency is what I've been looking for. So let's hope I can do that.